twist. That's very twisty.
You know, I actually grew up playing the Pokemon card game, and I actually watched the animated cartoon too, and it was very good. It was entertaining. I love it. It means a lot to me. It holds a special place in my heart. So when I first saw the trailer for Pokemon Detective Pikachu, I was excited. I was intrigued. I was like really looking forward to it. It was one of my most anticipated films of 2019. But how did it turn out? Let's see. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to my opinion/review for Pokemon Detective Pikachu. I really do appreciate it. Now, Pokemon Detective Pikachu is being directed by Rob Letterman. If you're not too familiar with his work, he did Goosebumps, which came out a few years ago, Gulliver's Travels, Shark Tale, and Monsters vs. Aliens. And if you haven't seen those films, they're pretty good. Go check them out. I think it's worth your time. Have at it. And what Pokemon Detective Pikachu is about is you have a character by the name of Tim who has a father by the name of Harry. Harry is a detective, but all of a sudden Harry goes missing, and Tim wants to know what in the world is going on. So he goes on an adventure to try to find the mystery of his missing father, and actually runs into a Pokemon by the name of Pikachu, who he happens to be able to understand. So these two characters, Tim and Pikachu, put their brains together and try to solve this mystery and put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, the first thing that I did like about this film is the world building of Pokemon. As soon as the film starts and you see the first Pokemon, you kind of say to yourself, okay, this is not a world that I am familiar with, but it still feels real. It still feels like there's something that I can relate to. And then by the time I actually saw the first Pokemon close up, I loved it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a world that I know. And this is just a great adaptation from the cartoon and the video game from way back in the day and the card game. I was instantly pulled into this scene. So when you're getting all these close-ups and the design of the Pokemon, I think they did a really good job. The level of detail they added really does remind me of the animated show that I loved as a small child. Now, the CGI effects are kind of so-so. They can be a little jarring at the beginning, as it was for me. For example, at the very beginning of this film, Tim is on a subway, and it's one of the first times you actually get to see a live action character with a CGI Pokemon character close up, really interacting with each other. Like I said, it was jarring. The blending didn't match as well, but they kind of dissipated throughout the film, and it was something that I did not notice for the most part, or I did notice it, but it just didn't bother me. Now, the next thing that I really did love about this film is Pikachu himself, voiced by Mr. Ryan Reynolds. Of course, he is the titular character of this film, and he is the best thing of this film. Everything about Pikachu was freaking fantastic, except for one thing, and I will get to that later, but the design of Pikachu, hearing Pikachu say, Pika, Pika, I love that as well. And Ryan Reynolds is funny. We all know that. He's funny in pretty much every film that he's in, and he's funny in Pikachu. It seems like he was born for Deadpool, and it also seems like he was born to play the Pikachu role, or he's just that talented of an actor. But that's pretty obvious if you ask me. Now, the next thing that I really did like about this movie was the character Tim Goodman, played by Justice Smith. Now, Justice Smith was in the Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom, which came out a few years ago with Chris Pratt, and I did not like him in that movie at all. He got on my damn nerves. He was just screaming all the time, just seemed like a weak character, a weak male, but that's not how he came across in this Pokemon Detective Pikachu film. It was something about him that just felt really real and very genuine. And without the film just giving you too much exposition, you kind of felt for him, even though you really did not know who he was. You would just experience his character as he was experiencing the normal trials and tribulations of losing a loved one, losing a parent, going through this, going through that. I don't know. He just sold it very, very well, and I ate up everything about him on the scene. The next thing that I liked about this film was actually seeing the Pokemon use their powers. When they actually did use their powers, it was nice. It was entertaining. I liked the CGI effects and how they incorporated all that into the story. It was very clever, so I just got to give them thumbs up there. And at times the soundtrack and the score was cool too. It was nice flowing. It set the tone. It elevated the film and certain scenes when it needed to. So I got to give it to them there as well. And I also just like the detective nature of the Pokemon, of the Pikachu, played by Ryan Reynolds, especially at the very beginning of the film. It was like a fun little adventure. And you were just on board with this team trying to put all the pieces together in this puzzle, just trying to figure out what's going on and where is Tim's father, Harry. Now, I just talked about the good, but I got to talk about the bad as well, because there are a few things in this film that did rub me the wrong way. And just a moment ago, I talked about how I liked when the Pokemon actually used their powers, but that's another thing that I don't like about this film, is because the Pokemon did not use their powers that much in this film. I don't understand that at all. You have a vast array of Pokemon characters that have all these types of abilities: fire, water, wind, whatever. It's just a ton of creation, but the Pokemon actually don't use their powers to their full potential. And that was just a turnoff to me. Now, I can understand that this Detective Pikachu is not a straight adaptation from the main Pokemon storyline animated cartoon. I get that. But at the same time, I do want to see some type of Pokemon battle, and just give me one. And then the one that they gave us, or I don't want to spoil anything, maybe it was more than one. Instead of giving us some epic battle, or not even just an epic battle, they just gave us chaos. Okay, hey, we're just going to tease you here. And instead of giving you what you came to see, instead of giving you what, you want, we're just going to give you a bunch of BS and randomness running around. And I hope you like that. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but there was just a big mistake there of not really utilizing the Pokemon's powers in this movie. I mean, they did to a degree, but not nearly enough like I should. The next thing that I liked about this, that I did not like about this film was the character of Lucy Stevens, played by Miss Catherine Newton. Now, she's called Miss Lucy Stevens in this movie, but I think her character would have been better named as like Captain Obvious or Miss Trying Too Hard. The acting was atrocious. I don't understand what they were trying to pull here. I mean, it didn't make any sense. You have Justice Smith doing such a great job, and when you pair him up with her, it just clashes. It doesn't mix. There's nothing cohesive about it. I mean, Justice, he can act. I'm not saying that he deserves some Oscar, for his role in the Pokemon Detective Pikachu. But when Lucy comes in, Miss Catherine Newton, I'm just like, okay, it seemed like she begged herself to get this movie. Like, please put me into this movie. I can act, and let me show you how good I can act. Okay, action. Hey, I'm a da 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 da. That's how her character came off. And like I said, it was very jarring. I did not like it. I mean, she got a little bit better at the end, and I don't know if that's just because I was just used to it, but as soon as her character popped on the scene, it did like a light bulb went off, and I was just like, that is the first thing in this movie that I do not like. Hey, I'm just being honest. Also, just something that does not make sense is the practicality in this film. I mean, there was one scene to where the main characters had to break into some high security facility, with just all the bells and whistles and cameras and things like that. And they just did it far too easy. I mean, it would be easier for me to break into my own house, my own apartment, than to break into this place over here. And that just doesn't make any sense as well. Something else that I did not like is also the convoluted story that revealed itself at the midpoint and towards the end of this film. All you had to do was give me a simple ABC 1, 2, 3 peanut butter story from A to B, and it involves some Pokemon with some powers. But when you try to overcomplicate things and just be super mature and do this and that, it's just like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And it was just to a point to where I was just getting confused. Like, wait a minute, what the plot of the film is this? And y'all are trying to do this? Okay, why? Why would you want to do that? That's just a dumb plan, I mean, usually if there's a villain in the film, you can kind of understand their motivations of wanting to do something, but the motivation here was just non-existent. I thought it was ridiculous. It was just stupid and honestly like a waste of time. In the ending battle in the third act really didn't do anything for me. Of course, I'm not going to spoil it for you here, but I wanted to see just some epic throwdown of a Pokemon here and there, and I did not get that. They tried, but they failed. So this film, Detective Pikachu, Pokemon, it has this mixture of good and bad, but for the most part, I did enjoy it. So If I were to rate Pokemon Detective Pikachu out of a 1 out of 10, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Yes, a 6.5 out of 10, which in my book, that is still positive. But I just want to say one more thing. I really do love the world building that they did with Pokemon. And if they make a sequel or a spinoff to this, I am interested in seeing it, because I really think that studio Warner Brothers has something rich on their hands, with this IP. But the execution that was attempted in this film failed on just a few levels that I listed, and that's just a shame because it has so much potential. But guys, that is just my opinion. What did you think about Pokemon Detective Pikachu? Have you seen it? Do you want to see it? Have I turned you on? Have I turned you off? Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Let me know down in the comment section below. Let's get this conversation going and keep it flowing. If you like this video, go ahead and give me the thumbs up. If not, that's fine. But you can still subscribe to my channel. Also look me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's all that good stuff right there at the bottom of your screen, and I made it very easy by providing a link to all that down in the description box below. But guys, I just want to thank you again for tuning in to my opinion/review for Pokemon Detective Pikachu. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.